Ramblin' Man, Moto, and Drone here. We're about to do a first time doing this myself, oil change on the Indian Super Chief Limited. I'm just prepping, getting everything ready. So I've got the Indian oil change kit that I purchased using one of their coupons recently. I tend to type out my own instructions based on repetition of theirs. It's one way I learn, but also just use my own notes. But also there's a ton of extra notes I add from people online with tips and pointers. Someone had recommended a different torque wrench that didn't do foot per pounds, but I guess inches, as they're more accurate for these drain plugs that I'm told are easy to strip. And I've already stripped a couple of things on this Indian before. Socket wrench, a couple of oil filter wrenches. We'll see if we need those. The instructions on this bike say to do the initial oil draining on the side stand, but I did bring out my wheel dock because another step says to center it, and I'm not sure I'm going to have somebody help me, so I may figure out how to just push that into place. I did see some people online that drain it completely centered on a stand, whereas the instructions say to start on the side is fine. So I'm going to start on the side. Some people said they did that, and then once they stood the bike up, it drained about another pint. I'm going to go get the bike. I keep that in the other garage and bring it over. Another thing before I bring the bike over, I did some ATV oil changes yesterday. And for the first time, I used one of these oil extractor vacuums because I stripped the first ATV last week and had to tap it out and drill a larger hole. I know some people are against these vacuums. Luckily, I read the forums on the Indian. It has 2 drain plugs, and because of that, you can't use the vacuum because you can't get to both chambers of oil. So we're going to be taking our time, try not to strip these drain plugs. So this is my Indian Super Chief Limited. You may have seen this in some other videos. You'll see I've traded out the spoke wheels for Indian Chief wheels. And got 2 goals today: do this oil change. Hopefully that goes off without a problem. My first time doing this myself. And then also to clean the air filter, which is an easier project. And that's about it. So just move the bike over. We're going to start it up. You have to let it run to warm up the oil. And then the drain plugs are underneath there. Not sure I can get this under here well enough to see, but the Indian Super Chief Limited has 2 drain plugs. These 2 right there. And I wasn't sure. I thought people approached them from the other side of the bike, but it would seem easier to access them from this side because of the drop-down bar there. So we'll see. First step is to let the bike run for a few minutes. I've got it in neutral. We're going to start it up. Let that run for a few minutes. And we'll come back. Well, just realized the oil drain pan I use for every other project is too thick, too tall to fit under the motorcycle. I tried it from both sides, and just as far as it goes. I could possibly try to stand the bike up and see if it'll go under, so I'm gonna look at that. Well, I put the bike in the wheel dock, and that little bit didn't help, of course. So now I've got to, I guess, get a better drain pan that'll fit under a motorcycle. I didn't even think about that. So this project is on hold. I may run out now. We live out in the country, so getting somewhere quickly is not the name of the game. So I may kick around whether to run out now and go buy one or order from Amazon. We'll see. Don't like the fact also my bike is getting dirty over here. I parked the bike in another garage that I try to keep clean, and this one's normally where the ATVs are. So I just washed this bike and hadn't been out riding it yet after I washed it. Now it's got this stuff all over it. All right, it's been a couple of hours later. I have another YouTube channel where I do trail cam videos. So I ended up deciding to go do that for a while. And my wife was out running errands. I asked her if she could pick up a baking pan. This fits under the bike, so I'm going to use this for the oil change. And I'm going to buy something more permanent later, but this will allow me to kind of bang this project out tonight. Back on attempt 2. So I'm having the bike run to get the oil warmed up. All right, apologies. I'm not showing myself do each of these steps. I'm just not at that point yet where I can record everything. And I'm doing this out here alone. So I made quite a mess. I had a mat that apparently was stuffed in a drawer somewhere that nobody knows where it is now. But so I usually have a mat down here when I do projects like this. But the reason I was having a challenge is there's 2 drain plugs. There's 2 drain plugs. And a guy online suggested loosening them before you warm the engine. I forgot to do that. But when I loosened them, I got one off very easily. And the second one, I was having a heck of a time getting the right angle. My hands were slippery. I was trying to wipe it clean. And then a caution to others that are doing this, there's a 3rd drain plug under there that's separate. And I found myself a couple of times putting my hand on that one because your eye goes to it. And the 2 oil drain plugs are right next to each other. And luckily I didn't try to loosen it with a ratchet. I was just grabbing it with my hand. So we got the oil draining into this pan. And then I'll probably stand it up on my own a little to see if it'll drain any more after we do this. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to pull the filter off in a second. The other step we have to do is remove that oil filter. And it would seem like it would make sense to go at it from this angle, but I feel like I'll have a better angle from the other side of the bike. So I'm going to have to play around with that. And I guess I'm going to wait for the other oil to drain because I don't have a second drain pan. And I don't think that one I have will reach at the same time. I'm back. Just a pointer. One of the things I forgot to do on this that I usually do on the ATVs is pull the dipstick to get some air in there so the oil will drain faster. So don't forget to do that. So while I'm waiting for the oil to drain, I came to inspect these and clean them and put the new washers on now. One thing is, I know on one of the second one, the washer was on it as I was pulling it down, so I guess it fell into the drain pan. The first one, I didn't see. And I saw another video watching one of these oil changes where the washer / gasket stayed up inside there and they had to pull it down with some tweezers. So I don't know. And it's hard to kind of inspect that. But I'm going to probably have to clean off down there to make sure one of them did not end up getting stuck up in there. As part of the oil change kit, they send the replacement parts for these as well. I saw this dipstick online, a third-party one that had this cool Indian head on it. So I bought it. But the problem, the good thing about it is you can see the oil level easier. What I've learned from talking to people online was that this dipstick is not a fair way to judge the oil on these bikes. That pretty much they said put in the right amount of oil and be done with it. That you can't go by these dipsticks. But the other thing that annoys me about this thing is when you screw it in, because of the way they did the threads, it points in toward the bike like that rather than out to the user. And I'm sure somebody with some more smarts knows how to rectify that. But the way it's threaded, it goes that way, so you don't even see it until you take it off. Waiting for all of the oil to drain is like watching a pot waiting for it to boil. So it's still slowly going out of, I think, the second drain plug that I pulled later than the first. I think I'm going to try to drain this oil into my container to see if I can see the gaskets, just to make sure they're not stuck up in the hole. Okay, I drained the oil into a container and I found the 2 gaskets were in the drain pan that I used, which I'm going to get out of the trash. My helper put that in the trash. Like I said, I'm sorry I haven't been showing each step in recording. So what I did was I put the 2 drain plugs in. My challenge is, I was warned by a lot of people online not to over tighten. And there's a whole debate about, the manual says 15 torque pounds. Some people said that's way too much and you'll strip it. I was recommended to get one of these inch pounds and I set it to 125. One guy said online. Another guy told me 144, which is equal to 12 foot-pounds. I did 125 and I never heard it click. I'm not sure, I've never used one like this. My large torque wrench is digital and I never heard it click, which I guess it's supposed to do. And other people online said they don't use torque wrenches to tighten anything on a drain, on an oil change. So I think I'm going to go with what I've got and continue next step with removing the oil filter. All right, just to show you what I did was I got in there with a rag and cleaned that up. Next step is take the new oil filter, put a little oil around the edge, and then tighten that, and then we'll start putting oil back in. This is the new oil filter that came in the kit. And again, sorry I'm not taping all this while I'm doing it, but I'm gonna put some oil around here, a little bit, dab in there. And this is their oil. In the future, I might switch to non-Indian brand, but for this time, to keep it simple, I ordered the kit. So I'm gonna put the I keep calling the air filter, the oil filter back on. We got the replacement oil filter in place. The next step is to fill it up with 4.5 quarts of oil, start it, and then put in the rest. I continue to make a mess out here. I'm sure I'll get better at this over time, but it stinks right now. So I've put in 4.5 quarts, and per the instructions, I'm gonna start it up, and then you put in the rest after a certain period that I'm gonna double check. Okay, so I ran this for 30 seconds, then put in the additional oil. So I guess some of the older engines took 5.5 quarts. The newer ones say they can go up to 6, but they tell you to start it with 4.5 in it. So, I mean, I guess it's safe to run it at 4.5, and a lot of people online said even though it will take 6, they only put in 5.5 because the extra gets blown back on the air filter. And a lot of people have said that they do 5.5. So I did just a little over 5.5. And I'm gonna start, I put some paper towels underneath to see if I can pick up on any leaks. There's so much oil from my sloppy work, I wouldn't know what's a leak and what's not maybe, so I just put some paper towels down. I'm gonna run it a little bit. Also, on these Indians with the digital info, one of the things you're supposed to do is reset the oil reminder that's built into their software. So I'm gonna look at that and see if I can find it quickly and not have to refer to a manual. All right, so we reset that there. All right, so I ran the bike for, I guess, 4 or 5 minutes, had the paper towels down. I didn't see any leaks. I'm gonna park the bike back in its normal parking place, and we'll see overnight. Hopefully nothing happens there. And hopefully I'll get a little neater at doing these in the future. So that's it. The air filter I'm doing another day.